So with Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater slithering back to our screens for like what, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time now? I don't even know. I lost track of how much action our Naked Snake has gotten, but you best believe I'm ready to go another round with him. Especially when, he's looking clean, looking fresh, looking dirty. In short, looking pretty good. But while Konami keeps me waiting for it, I'm gonna take what is potentially my last real look at the classic version and rank every one of Baby Big Boss's battles to see for myself who the real king of that jungle is. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't see this as a hot take or anything like that, but frankly, I wouldn't care if it was, because I stand firm on the fact that the Pain is nothing but a jumbo-sized jabroni, who's more than worthy of being stuck at the back of the pack like this. Going off that name alone, you'd be forgiven for thinking this guy'd be some sort of heavy hitter, a complete demon that specializes in suffering and dealing out death. I'm talking like the Vosses, the Hojos, the Kevin McAllisters. But unless your target's Winnie the Pooh, anyone would be better suited to be in the Pain than this burly ballerina beekeeper. Playing Pokemon taught me long ago that anyone who willingly battles as a bug trainer, regardless of having 20 years of experience and the physique of a fridge, is still fated to be folded by a main character who just picked something up on the walk over. Wouldn't surprise me if he didn't even earn the title. People just took one look at this 6'7" meat wall of a man and gaslit themselves into thinking those insects he's bragging about taming were a battalion of buzzwolves. You might have done a little too good a job at swaying everyone there, man, since you also managed to sway yourself somehow, thinking that little honeybee horde can hold their own against Big Boss in his prime, when 10 minutes earlier, they were getting their jaws spun by a teenager twirling his guns around like a coked up fidget spinner. There's hardly a hornet left in that hive by the time you come across him. Has to make do with a handful of airdrops and a belly full of bullet bees. He never stood a chance. If you ask me, you should just stick to what you're good at instead, buddy. Those bees are better being used as literal drones for pickup and delivery. Call up Kojima and maybe you'll get the Meryl Mark II treatment. You'd be the perfect porter in the next Death Stranding. Now the Fear, he actually earns a few points of recognition from me for canonically doing more damage than the guy whose entire gimmick was causing bodily harm. Came swooping in with a pair of bigger stingers than the queen bee could ever dream. But one-upping Porter Payne in his own element has left the Fear falling short of his own. The guy's got nearly endless potential to get real freaky with you in a fight, but squanders all of it by posing as this poor man's predator. Feels more like he's just cosplaying as the Fear. Looks like a licker with his skin still attached. What, you think a forked tongue and some loose ligaments are gonna spook me? I've seen scarier things shuffling down the aisles in Walmart. Should've skipped that poison and laced those crossbow bolts with some of that psychedelic cactus juice. Send you packing straight to Arkham Asylum. I want to see every fever dream I've ever had mashed up together like the Marlboro breath attack playing Russian roulette with my status effects. Could get hit with the no sight, no sound, or no scran. You know, really force you to fight your own imagination while you try to find where he's hiding. A fear of the unknown will help keep you on your toes while severed hands are coming crawling out of the ground. Or if the ground itself just decides to disappear, maybe the bunnies will peel your face off like a fruit roll-up and the crocodiles will rub up on you like they're the family pet. Would go a long way to explain why he's supposed to be scary, since he's not all that durable during the fight itself. As is, he's just leapfrogging from branch to branch, wearing a stealth suit that's sipping up his stamina like a fresh pack of Capri Sun. All anyone ever has to do is sprinkle around whatever moldy mangoes or toxic tree frogs they've got lining their pockets, and he'll practically self-destruct. Should honestly consider himself lucky I only fed him a few frogs. In 1964, the first Taco Bell had been open for 2 years by that point, and I, for one, don't want to imagine the kind of carnage that had brought about if we had stopped for drive-thru on the flight over. Add a bit of bug juice to that burrito supreme and watch both of his life bars go down the drain. He'd be spawning into the spirit realm Johnny Sasaki style. So I think I could save myself a bit of time here and combine these two into one. because Volgin learned absolutely nothing between each of the phases he fights you in. They all suffer from the same issue, built in the front, but exposed in the rear. Which is exactly how he likes it, but you'd think with all those electric powers, the man could spark the light bulb in his brain long enough to figure out this is to his detriment this time. Hasn't had his stamina get sucked away that fast since his last round in Raikov's Red Room. It's a good thing for him he's got the coin to keep continuing, no matter how many times he's topped. Probably has all the local merchants out foraging for one-ups in case he needs a pick-me-up to go another round. But pulling out your pocketbook to buy a new special toy isn't going to help you here, I'm afraid. Mainly because the tank fights are always going to be mid at best. Proof enough that Grenin wasn't gaslighting you about them needing to be more mobile to really be worth anything. But at first glance, it looks like the mad lad Sokolov might have cracked the code, actually tinkered us up a tank that's worthy of the game's nuclear moniker, a complete mechanical menace that's unfazed by any kind of weaponry, strong enough to smash anything in its path, and packing enough rocket power to chase down the Flash when he's in the off-season. But then you fight it for real, and the quality drops downhill as quickly as its backside does. The moment the Shagohod takes its little C3 swim and exposes the crack underneath like one of those dissolvable swimsuits, all Volgin can really do by that point is just submit himself to the stun lock and let Big Boss blow out his back end. Doesn't even matter when he jumps out to juice the Shagohod himself and you have to fight him on foot. Nothing's stopping him from getting rinsed with the same strategy. Even his precious Tatiana takes the time to comment on his inability to last very long, assuming she can even get the word out in the first place. Takes less than a minute for him to finish before he's gone and gassed himself. Which I mean literally too. The one time he forgets to say his catchphrase and Colonel Kuwabara gets sparked out by a bolt of irony and set ablaze. I'd say it's a rough way to go, but I'm sure he'd have it no other way. He died as he lived. Showered with white-hot loads. Now, even though this hurts me, putting him solo on the list, Ocelot still isn't getting a free pass from me just because he's one of my personal favorites. You can't get that prestigious pretty good with that alone, I'm afraid. But at the very least, he does make for a good barrier to entry level battle between the decent and disappointing on this list. There's nothing crazy or difficult here, being the first boss and all, but it's still packed with more personality than anything we've seen up to this point. I know I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, since Snake Eater was my very first Metal Gear game, but looking back at it now, it's actually kinda cool seeing the evolution of the older Ocelot's signature style being developed right in front of you like this. He's still young and more inexperienced here, so having him gradually adjust his kit to compensate for his shortcomings each time you give him a good slapping down makes a lot of sense to me. So adding that other revolver was a nice touch there. The extra firepower is much appreciated. Lord knows he needs it. The leech that's latched onto my balls did more damage than his bullets do. Kinda crazy how the man can ricochet his shots from across the canyon, but he's too busy jerking his pistol to do it properly. Tends to leave himself wide open to getting gooned at any given moment because of it. But knowing what I know now, what with him being Adam and all, of course he's gonna be easy. He's not trying to kill you or anything. If he wasn't busy hustling everyone behind the scenes, you know, had actually taken this more seriously like he does at the end, then we'd have actually struggled a bit here. Not saying it's gonna be a game changer for him or anything like that, but whenever some super-powered psycho ever showed up to beef with him a bit, he'd fold him every time they try. Put those bees into a blender, gave the Colonel a good grounding. I'm telling you, if that last fight had actually been playable, it'd be the best indicator for 40 more years of just how much of a complete weapon he really is. No items, no gimmicks, final destination, Fox only.
Come on!
Now that'd be a battle that really screams, yeah, that's definitely the boss's boy. Now this is where I'd start to say the members of this little schizophrenic squad actually start to read the manual on what it takes to be a competent Cobra. The Fury doesn't need to waste his time on body mutilations or playing around with pets. He's just a fuming man on a mission to burninate the countryside. Came back to Earth after seeing space and instead he just saw red. I don't know what the Soviet Union was injecting into their tank to turn all their astronauts into super soldiers like this, but it's a good juice in a scrap. Your typical firefighter isn't exactly used to having his time in the sun like this. They're more of a quick one and done. Just a nick to that tank and they're a stain on the sidewalk. or wherever they choose to battle before the boom. But a flyer fighter, on the other hand, they get on the gas and just become that much more weaponized. Got that rocket-powered strap on him to propel him down the hallway like a human hedgehog should the flames fail to snuff you out. Only gets harder to hide from him the brighter things get, which I can safely say he took me to the crematorium more times than most in my first playthrough. Should count myself lucky he only sends those flaming faces at you after fighting him, but it's a bit of a missed opportunity not having a second phase somewhere where they chase you down to the door, force you to sneak around and navigate that maze of hallways like you're playing Pac-Man, lest you be cooked and consumed by the mummy mouth. Would be a banger in my eyes, but I guess the gameplay isn't really his biggest issue here, is it? He's just sadly held back by all that pesky lore. Apparently could never see past the white Russian he stamped on his dome to actually land a fire blast in the first place, but it only took Solid Snake, a lighter, and a can of axe to set Big Boss ablaze. Must have been embarrassing for the both of them, looking down from the spirit world, seeing the greatest soldier in all of human history get himself literally gaslit by hairspray, got outgunned by Garnier. Okay, I know I said earlier that I try not to let my personal preferences affect my judgment back there with Ocelot, but I think his dear old dad's dead weight might be getting carried by it a bit. But what can I say? That oppressive atmosphere is just so palpable here that I can't help but like it. Even though realistically speaking, I know it's more slow and steady compared to fighting the Fury. You're really just walking down a river, having a little meet and greet with everyone you've ever ended, all the way from the scientist that set the alarm bells on you, to the guy you accidentally cannibalized that one time. It's sort of like one of those graduation videos. You know, take a trip down memory lane with the souls you've slain along the way. Gives the fight a little more replay value when the rivers reset each time and tailored to match your run's current kills. Can even skip it completely if you decide to take his namesake seriously and dive in to drown your sorrows. Which is a creative enough concept as is, but one that I hope gets expanded a bit more in the Delta remake. Cause you know, if it were up to me, I'd get all of the ghosts, including the cobras, on the juice, make them way more powerful and aggressive, every one of those poor unfortunate souls making a mad dash towards you to scran off some of yours. And the only way I'd allow you to take the easy way out to escape them is if you kept that soul squeaky clean. Actually played this game stealthy as intended instead of bathing in the blood of your enemies, or just being bad at the game. They keep catching you. Either way though, it's still no excuse that blood is on your hands, so now your pill will just have to pay the price. Make it so that the more bodies hit the floor by the start of the fight would be what dictates how long you had to survive without being revived. Maybe that'll teach you not to go full Punisher on them next time. Keep it up and they're just gonna call in Kratos to cameo instead of the monkeys. I know he'll find a way to sort out your sorry soul. He's been to the underworld plenty of times. He knows the perfect way to get you out of it. Even in a series like Metal Gear that's known for having some busty sniper sections, the End is still in a whole other league of his own. Managed to make it amongst the elite in spite of posing zero threat to anyone whatsoever, put himself into a permanent pacifist run, and still has put everyone to shame. Though not nearly enough to justify that get-out-of-fight free card that they offer you. As funny as it can be, you're honestly doing everyone a disservice by not giving this living legend a proper send-off. The man just wants to go on one last hunt. You know, go out doing what he loves. The only end he's really looking to bring about here is his own. No music, no minions, just man versus wild. Just let him hit his macros for the day from juicing off the sun and he'll run circles across those 3 separate screens of forest while you try to track him down. It's a good thing that we're not fighting him back in his prime here, or heaven forbid, was packing some actual heat. Cause if he had, we'd be greeting God at those pearly gates with a new skylight installed in your forehead. Fortunately for us, the old man's gun is just there to give us a regular nap instead of a dirt one. Maybe he'll ground you for a night in the gulag if you're not man enough to take him down, as a good proper punishment for wasting his precious remaining time. Take too much of it and he'll just straight up die of disappointment. Or maybe boredom. But no, that's not happening here, not to me. I'm taking it all. I'm hunting him down, grabbing his gun, and mugging him for the moss off his back. Only then does he have my permission to die. The future is now, old man. And at the end of the day, you're just there to be the bouncer. A nice little warm-up to get our legs ready before the real boss that you've been gatekeeping pipes up to show us the light at the end of that tunnel. Okay, I said that, but honestly, I don't see the ladder as any kind of enemy of ours. Otherwise, it would have just peeled itself off the wall like you're playing an Uncharted level. I'm only putting it here because this video would feel incomplete without it somehow, even if it's only there to sing us a song to pass the time while we climb. That said though, if it ever did decide to drop us, then this series would have been a whole lot shorter. No amount of yellow paint on the cracks could ever prevent that paradox. I said at the beginning of this thing that I was looking to find the real king of the jungle, but anyone who's played this game already knows that it was only ever gonna be a queen. The ladder may have let you walk away unscathed, but the boss has no reservations about giving you the business. The first time I ever faced her down, I was completely unprepared for it. The cutscenes had never given me the impression I could actually counter any of her attacks. Thought this was gonna be more of a war of attrition, slowly sneaking around in full camouflage and gradually grinding her down with superior firepower. At least that was the plan, until she started to leg it towards me and I panic fired my shotgun until she scattered the pieces around the playground, gave me the close quarters clapping that Eva never could, broke like 3 of my ribs from the raw dogging she did on me. But it's the sort of firm yet fair kind of clobbering that rewards you for getting a read on her tells and flogging you for failing. Nowadays, of course, I know what I'm doing, but that still doesn't make my job any easier here, given the stakes of the story. Even 20 plus years later, the emotional toll it takes to cut the head off a snake and crush the heart of another hits harder than any bullet ever could. I personally have the highest respect for the boss's sacrifice, and it still hurts me the same way even after all these years. There's only room for one boss and one snake. There's no place for any pain, or fear, fury, or sorrow, just the end of the joy. And so I salute the true patriot, Snake Eater's undisputed best boss. Hey everyone, I just wanted to thank you very much for supporting me on my very first video on this channel. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope that you had a lot of fun watching it. If you did, then you know that there are plenty of ways that you can help support me in the future. You can like the video, subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you want to see, you know, the works. I hope to see you there, but just always remember that you're pretty good.